So last week I sent one email that made me 100 grand in 24 hours. And in this video, I want to give you the exact same script and show you how I created it for my own offer so that you can basically copy me and get similar results. Now, this doesn't require you to have a massive email list, to have a big, following or have a big personal brand. And I know that to be true because even though our list is relatively decent in size, and that's why we made 100K, I'm not saying you'll make 100K as well, but you definitely will be able to make some free money pretty quickly from implementing this process. However, the reason I know that you can definitely make it work, again, without a big brand is simply because we implement the same process for our clients at our company, ScaleClients.io. There's a specific metric that we track at our company, which is called time to ROI, which is a very common metric. If you're not tracking it, you definitely should. It's the easiest way to make your service more valuable. We track that metric, and one of the sayings that we have internally around that metric is that we want to try and get our clients to ROI on our fee before we ever launch our main service. So clients come to us and they pay us to run their ads for them. They want more sales calls, more clients, etc., etc. So our core deliverable is running paid ads for our clients. However, I was always trying to figure out a way to, instead of only relying on the ads as the piece of value for our service, which is what we did for the longest time, I was always trying to figure out a way, as I say, to get clients to ROI on our fee before we ever launch the main service, because that way clients almost then get access to our main service for free. It's kind of like when you buy a business, right? If you've got a business, let's say, for example, doing easy numbers, 100K in EBITDA. If you then value that business at 500K as an example, well, then if you then put a 5x multiple on that business, say you buy it for 500 grand. If you can then find a way or see a way before you buy the business, an easy lever that you can pull that would immediately either double, triple, or 5x, ideally, the EBITDA of that business within the first 12 to 24 months, which for most businesses is actually not that difficult. So let's say you then buy that business today for 500 grand. If you then implement on those levers that you've previously identified and you take the 100K EBITDA to 500K by say year 2, well, all of a sudden by year 2, you now have a business that's paying you 500K a year, which you paid 500K once to acquire. So in other words, by year 2, you would have then acquired a 500K per year business in profit for free, right? That's the basic game of acquisitions. However, on the back end, we now implement this process that I'm about to show you for all of our clients. And when they come in, we now see on average clients ROI on our fee. So in other words, if we charge 20K, clients make back 20K within the first couple of weeks whilst we're setting up the ads for the main service. They actually make back that 20K simply from following this process. Now, going back to my original point, the reason I know that this works even if you don't have a big audience is simply because most of the clients that come to us, probably 65%, 70% of the clients that come to us, they don't have a big audience. All they really have, and this is what you need to use if you don't have a big audience as well. Obviously, if you do have any type of following, then you need to blast that following with what I'm about to show you. But even if you don't, all you really need is any past leads that have opted in, whether they're warm, whether they're qualified, whether they're not, it doesn't matter. You just want to collate all of the leads that have opted in the past. You want to collate all of the past sales calls that you've taken that didn't close. You want to collate all of any scrape lead lists, any SMS lists, any deals or prospects that are in your CRM. And then of course, you do also want to blast this on any organic or social platforms that you have as well, which are things like obviously YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, etc. Any and every platform where there's some people that could potentially be in your audience. They don't need to be 100% qualified. They don't need to be like perfect, ideal clients, etc. That's not the point of this. You just want to find everywhere where there's a potential that there's a qualified prospect in there somewhere. If that's your Instagram following, for example, then use it. If that's your email list, then use it. If it's all of them, use all of them. Now, and for most people, by the way, that audience combined is typically nothing more than like 1,000 people, 500 people, etc. But again, because the offer that I'm going to show you here and how we ran this is so potent and so desirable, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that your audience sizes are relatively small because you'll still get at least 1 or 2 deals. And remember this, at the very least, look, we definitely launch this for clients and it doesn't work. Like nobody responds, nobody comes through, etc. But guess what? It doesn't cost you to do this. All you need to do is just blast it out to everyone that you have access to. And of course, if you do get a couple of sales calls from it and end up closing a few deals, then it's pure profit. It's free money that's sat there waiting for you to grab it. So let me show you exactly how this script looked and at least what I used that worked extremely well for me. All right, so when it comes to looking at your existing audience, there's really 2 types of existing audience. You've got colder audiences and you've got obviously warmer audiences. Now, with the colder audiences, I would say, in my opinion, that would be made up of any past opt-ins, sales posts that didn't close, manually scraped lead lists, etc. Right? So like it's, yes, you've got access to them. Yes, they're part of your quote audience, but they're kind of on the colder side. Then you've got warmer, which is any type of community you've got, whether it's a low ticket community or a free community where, people join and then you post value, you're interacting with them, etc. on a daily basis. And or if you've got pretty strong personal brand where people follow you, they really like you, they have the know, like, and trust factor. They're the two types of audiences that you most likely have access to. Now, again, when I look at our clients, most of them actually have the colder version, which is the email leads, opt-ins, etc. And so I had two strategies when I posted this one-time offer blast. So this is the email script, which is a much colder approach, like I was saying, and I'll break this down and how this looks in a minute. But let me first show you the approach that I took with the existing community, as I say, that already knows, likes, and trusts us. So this was the post that I made in the school group. Now I took this exact same post and I also sent it out as an email to everyone who had joined this group. And then I've also taken this and put it into Instagram story. It was basically the same text, but it was just obviously formatted to fit Instagram stories, but it was the exact same thing. And all platforms drove to this video right here. So the headline here was, my first ever done with you offer, join today for a 3K discount, ends in 72 hours. Now, a couple things on this before I get into the script here. Number one, again, it's important to remember this audience who this particular approach went to already knows, likes, and trusts us, right? So when I say my first ever offer, they're already bought into us. So for the most part, anything that we would provide, as long as that thing is of value, they will buy it, right? So again, when I said my first ever done with you offer, they already knew the value of Scale Clients, of Kai, etc. And again, they already know, like, and trust us. So this is inherently valuable, right? If some random person said, hey, I just launched my first ever done with you offer, there's going to be no value to that because you don't know who the person is. So you don't know then how valuable that offer really is, or that done with you offer really is. Whereas if name the person, you like the most, if they said my first ever done with you offer, you're probably naturally going to buy it, even though it's the same offer in both instances, right? So that's a bit of pre-context there. And again, this was genuinely a new offer. So I wanted to advertise the fact that it was a new offer. However, you don't need to create a new offer every time you do this, right? You can use an existing offer, but if it's there for you to take, then I would obviously offer it. Now, the other thing, join today for a 3K discount, ends in 72 hours. This is actually a price increase, not a discount. So I would never take a 10K product, for example, and sell it for 7K, right? Just give a 3K discount off the bat. But what I would do is take a 7K product, increase the price to 10K, but tell everyone, advertise the fact you're increasing it to 10K in 3 days. So if you join today, you're going to get a 3K discount. That's how I would approach it. Because then that way you kind of kill two birds with one stone, right? You get a ton of people who are on the fence to join within the next 72 hours or 48 hours or whatever, however long you run it. And so you have a massive cash increase or cash influx. And secondly, you increase the price in 72 hours. So then you're going to naturally, from every new client that joins from there on in, obviously you're going to make more money from them. So it's a win-win. Now, the script that I used here is I've just launched a brand new done with you / mastermind program. And for the next 72 hours, I'm running a 3K discount. The only difference between this program and our higher level 20K offer is that our 20K offer is where me and my team implement everything for our clients. Whereas in this offer, I'll be working directly with you to implement, and you simply get to pay a fraction of the price. I recorded a video here that explains all the details. DM me if you want to join. Now, another thing that's important to note with this, since this is going to an existing audience that already knows, likes, trusts us, I felt like I didn't need to do a sales call. I would have definitely made more money if I ran a sales call, but it would have also obviously took a lot more time, a lot more energy, and the amount of bookings we would have got from this, it would have booked us out for quite probably a week in full just from those sales calls. We've also got obviously tons of other sales calls coming in from our ads. So I just didn't really think it made sense, especially when I knew we didn't really need it. Sure, we could have probably closed, 5, 6, 7 more people. However, I knew it wasn't really needed to close the majority of people who would have been interested in this, simply because they were already so bought in. And obviously I linked this 32-minute video, which explained everything anyway in regards to the offer. That was basically, in my opinion, enough. And it was enough because, again, nobody needed a sales call to join. Now, could have reclosed a couple more, sure, but the majority, 90% of people didn't need a sales call. And so it worked really well. Now, the doc and the video that I linked here that explains it is this one here. Now, in here, really all I did was just gave all the details. So I explained the program, why I'm doing it. And then I also explained really what the outcome of the program is. And I knew that this was all that was needed really for this market again, or for this audience specifically. I knew this was all that was needed. I just literally listed their desired outcomes and what we'll help them with. And I went through a lot of different things down here. And then here I explained the deliverables. So all this is basically how we're going to deliver these outcomes. So it's like, hey, we'll help you achieve these, big sexy outcomes. Here's how we're going to actually deliver that in terms of the format. So, we have a 60-minute onboarding call, basic stuff, 3 weekly mastermind calls with me directly. This is actually changed to 4 now. So 4 weekly sales mastermind calls per week. And then this is also a 9-week program now. So we also get a 9-week course. It's an advanced course that is normally only available for our 20K W clients, since it includes everything that I know and implement at our agency and coaching business. And then obviously we have an advanced community with high-level business owners. So they were the deliverables. I just listed that out. And then the terms, I just said exactly what the terms are in the video, right? Again, I gave them all information they needed to be able to make a decision if they wanted to join or not. So I said, to reiterate, the only difference between this program and our high-level 20K offer is that the 20K offer is where me and my team implement everything for our clients, whereas this offer, I'll be working directly with you to implement. And because of that, instead of paying our usual 20K price for 4 months, this program is only $9,800 for 4 months, literally half the price. Now, this section alone is really enough for a one-time offer. Like, that is attractive enough. But what I did is I took it one step further and I said, for the next 3 days, or for the first 3 days of this program being open, it's $6,800, and then it's going to go to $9,800. So again, I'm not discounting it. It's more of a price increase. But for the first 3 days, it's open at $6,800. So obviously, again, that jacks up the urgency. And most people know, because of the audience it's going to, they would have already known if they're going to join at some point. And if in their mind it was a yes, like they knew they were going to join at some point, there's no reason they shouldn't join within the next 72 hours for the cheapest the program's ever going to be. And that's what everyone did. And again, that's what gave us that massive cash influx. And again, I want to make it clear, I'm heavily hitting on the fact that this is a new thing here, but it does not need to be new. For example, all of the clients that we roll a similar approach out to, like I said at the start of the video, that allows them to ROI on our fee before we launch the ads, is all of those guys don't have a new offer. Like, we package a new offer for them, we create a new offer for them, but it's not like a new, that was bad wording. It's a new offer, but it's not a new service or a new product, right? It's their existing product. They just have a new offer. And so you'll see now how you can really use this, again, without having a new product or a new deliverable or new service. And the other thing, and this is really, really big, what you can do is you can turn this into an automated monthly OTO blast. And this is now what we do. So we took this, I've seen how well this worked, and we took it. And then what we've now done is anyone who books in a sales call with us that doesn't close, I think we have it set up to where it's like 21 days or 16 days after that initial sales call, they get an automated email with this exact same approach where we have an OTO blast. Obviously, the offer isn't the fact that it's not a price increase, because we don't increase the price every single month. But what we do is we add in additional benefits that they wouldn't have otherwise have gotten if they closed the first time around. That works insanely well, because then that drives them back to want to book in a sales call. And then obviously we upsell them, and then obviously we just sell them back on the original offer. But again, that monthly automated OTO blast drives a ton of extra cash each month. And the other thing that's really powerful about making it automated and making it send out 2 to 3 weeks after the initial sales call is what we found. It's a really, really easy sell, right? Because most of the time, when somebody doesn't buy in the initial sales call, most of the time, it's because of one of two reasons. Either number one, they think they can do it themselves, or number two, they just don't see that much value and or don't think that your pitch or your offer is worth the price point that you're charging for it, right? Or asking for it. Now, one of the key reasons why we set this automated email up to send after 2 or 3 weeks after the initial call is simply because what happens is, if you have a sales call today with a prospect, if they don't close, normally they're going to say something like, I can do this myself, or I think, maybe I don't need help after all, I'm not actually interested in this, whatever it is. Or maybe they say, I'm going to try and go and speak with these other companies. I want to see what they can do for me, etc., etc. Anything like that, right? The thing is, 3 weeks later, if you send out this email and it forces them to book in a call, on the sales call, the only conversation that really needs to be had is, how's the last 3 weeks gone? And what's very evident, almost 100% of the time, is the last 3 weeks, nothing had changed. Just like the last 2 years in their business, right? And nothing had changed simply because they didn't make a decision to actually change. Like, nothing changed because they did change. You've heard that before. Nothing's going to change unless you change. And that's what happened over the last 3 weeks. So in other words, the last 3 weeks, they had the same bad results. They had the same, whatever the thing is that you helped them with. They didn't improve in any way. They're in the same exact position with the same exact problems as they were before you spoke. And so the sales conversation just becomes so much easier because it's just so evident to the prospect that they actually need help. And whatever you have in your automated OTO blast, there should be also urgency built into that to where it makes it even easier for them to join, even more valuable for them to join, because maybe you give them free time instead of doing a price increase. Specifically, this is on the automated monthly side of it. Instead of doing a price increase, obviously, or whatever it may be, you can just add other valuable things on, like I said, free time, or you can even do like additional one-on-one calls with you as the founder or something like that. Whatever you would feel as though your market would find valuable, you can add that on, which again, further increases the value of the offer, further increases the urgency, because they should only be able to get access to those benefits on this sales call. And like I said, it's also even clearer to the prospect, or it should be clearer, and you can make it clear as the closer, make it even clearer to the prospect that they actually need help, because again, they thought they could do it on their own, for example, the first time you guys spoke, and now 3 weeks later, they tried it on their own, or they've not made any changes as of yet, and they're in the same exact situation as they were before. So if they actually want to grow, they need to make a change. And again, that conversation just becomes so much easier. Now, if your audience isn't as engaged, maybe it's the lead types that I spoke about earlier, or maybe you have an Instagram following and like you typically don't post on there, but you have built up quite a few followers. Maybe you've been running ads for a while and you've been getting a lot of followers through the ads, but you don't post on there often and whatnot. So that there's ideal clients in there, but they don't really know who you are, etc. Whatever the case may be, if you have colder audiences of that nature, this is how I approach them. So it's in the format of an email, but you can take the same ideas and apply it to really any medium. Now, where this approach differs drastically from the previous approach is the previous approach with the warmer audience. Within reason, you could look at it as you are the offer versus this approach. You can't be the offer because these people aren't bought into you. It's not necessarily that they don't like you, but they don't know you. They don't really care for you. You yourself provide no value or bring no value to the prospect, right? So in this approach, you have to have an external offer, which you associate with yourself, but it's an external thing that you push, that you sell, and it's that external thing that attracts the clients to want to book in a call with you. And the other big difference with this approach is you want to drive all of these guys to book in a sales call because again, they don't inherently value you. They don't inherently like you. So you need to have a sales call to actually sell the prospect. In the prior approach, you don't really need a sales call because within reason, they don't really need to be sold. They just need to know what is it, what am I getting, and how much is it? And obviously, you want to add in some urgency where you can. Whereas this approach, you need a sales call because these prospects need to be sold. So here's the general approach that we use. And again, this is what we get all of our clients to do with any of their old cold leads. So the script goes as follows. Hey, Nim, I wanted to email you about a new offer we've just launched before I send it to my network of XYZ plus other industry type, as it's only for the next XYZ people who join. No fake scarcity here. I've never done this before and I'll never do it again. So let's break this down first of all. Again, you can, from an urgency perspective, you can see, and a scarcity perspective, actually more so here, you can see how that's extremely evident, right? So you go, so let's break this first section down. I wanted to email you about a new offer we've just launched before I send it to my network of 5,000 plus other industry types. So what that does, obviously, it immediately adds FOMO, first of all, fear of missing out, and it adds scarcity because the next line is as it's only for the next X people who join. So this could look like, new offer I just launched before I send it to my network of 5,000 plus other agencies, as it's only for the next 10 people who join. So first of all, that direct comparison of, before I send it to my network of however many people you've got in your network, say it's 10,000, 5,000. And by the way, that number would just come from, obviously adding all of your email lists together, adding all of your Instagram followers together, adding all of your YouTube subscribers if you're on YouTube, etc., right? You just, all of the audience that you've got, you would just combine that and put that number into there, whether it's 5,000, 3,000, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, whatever. And then, as I said, here, you want to add in scarcity by limiting the number of spots. Typically with the organic approach here, at least I've not really found a real need to do that, because just by the very nature of having the price increase, usually that's all you need. But in here, I personally would also add in scarcity because again, remember, cold traffic, they need more reasons to act now, and scarcity is just another nice little reason to add on top. I think scarcity in and of itself won't work, but when you add scarcity on top of all these other things I'm going to go through, it makes the offer a whole lot more powerful. So that's how you open it up here. And by the way, here, make sure you actually stick to this. Like if you say 5 people, cap it at 5 people, right? By the way, here with industry type, this is a subtle call out. So when you send this email, obviously you got to remember these people don't necessarily know who you are. They don't remember what it is exactly that you do. Maybe they saw an ad 3 months ago. They're not going to remember the specifics of what you do. And so here, I wouldn't start off the email by saying, hey, this is only for XYZ people. It just doesn't really flow that well. You can still add in a subtle call out by saying, before I send it out to my network of 5,000 plus other med spas or other whatever your niche is, other coaches, other prospects who need to lose weight, whatever it may be, right? So there you're kind of calling it out. So then the person reading it realizes, oh, this is for me, right? But it's subtle. For context, I've been seeing across the agency and coaching industry recently that almost every, and again here you would reinsert your ideal client, that almost every agency or coach that's above 25K a month struggles with, and then you would insert whatever problem or struggle is top of mind for your prospect. Again, you gotta remember, your ideal prospect, when they read this, they need to go, oh my God, this is for me. So how they think that is, number one, you're directly calling them out in these areas, but also number two, you should be able to specifically speak to the exact problems that they're currently facing. Also, you got to remember, if you're able to do that, that's going to further show the prospect you understand them, that you potentially could be somebody who could help them, right? If somebody was able to explain your problem or whatever you're currently feeling right now perfectly, naturally, you feel as though this person understands me, they get me, they could potentially help me. And this is extremely important, especially in this script, because remember, this is going to a colder prospect. So these people don't know who you are, they don't care who you are. But if you start to really detail their problems extremely specifically, and it's 100% correct, It's what's top of mind for the market right now. It's slowly going to almost like nurture the prospect and make them look at you in a slightly different way. And all of a sudden, you're kind of like warming them up, right? So almost every client struggles with XYZ, even though they are trying, and then you would insert everything they're currently trying. This also, again, makes them realize, oh my God, this person understands me, they get me, etc. And this is the best thing here. What it does is it's very subtle, but it starts to position you as new, unique, and different without even really doing that much, right? Because for example, let's say pick a niche, med spas. I don't know why that's top of mind. Med spas. Okay, so for context, I've been seeing across the med spa industry recently that almost every spa above 50K a month, if that was your ideal client, struggles with X, Y, and Z, even though most of the time they're trying Facebook ads, referral programs, and Google ads, SEO. I don't know what they're doing specifically, but you get the point. You would just list 2 or 3 things that like almost every single med spa is doing. But by doing that, Kyle Milligan in the book, Take Their Money, he talks about this idea in that book of it's not necessarily what the words are that you're saying that are important. It's more about what do the words communicate in your copy, right? It's not what the words you're saying, it's what do those words communicate. Now here, what these words communicate in this last little section here at the end, what these words specifically communicate is in so many words, they're struggling with A, B, C, even though they're trying X, Y, and Z. Now, what you're communicating there is that you have something different. You have something new. You have something that's not X, Y, and Z, which obviously then piques the prospect's curiosity. It makes them want to continue to read. Okay, well, what, I'm doing all those things. None of them are working. What does this guy have, or what does this girl have that's different, right? So they keep reading. It hooks them in a little bit more. So based on that, right, like based on this section here, even though they're trying X, Y, Z. So I've been thinking about how can I get the market's biggest desired outcome without them needing to insert everything they hate / everything they don't want to do. So again, here, that might be like with agencies and coaches who we work with. I might say something like, so I've been thinking about how can I install a system into agency and coaching businesses that allows them to get consistent 5 to 6 qualified sales calls booked onto their calendar every single day using very low budget ads. So for us, as an example here, I would say something like, so I've been thinking about how can I allow agencies and coaching businesses to scale to 100K a month plus using or by booking 5 to 6 qualified sales calls on their calendar each and every day, who then close at minimum of a 30% close rate without them spending any money out of pocket on paid ads. You see how that there? It immediately acts as a hook for what we're about to go into. And again, you should be speaking specifically to the prospect's outcomes and or desired outcomes, and also speaking to everything that they're either currently trying to do and or everything that they currently hate. That's gonna really hook them in. And then you will go into, and I have the solution only for the next reinsert scarcity. So whatever you said before, 5 people, 6 clients that we bring on board. Here's exactly what I'll do for you. So this is really set up very nicely if you do these earlier things correctly, because essentially this is only as powerful as what you say before it. If you do this intro really, really well and you get this copy down packed, then here everyone's going to be obviously very interested in what you can actually then do for them. And this section here is very simple. You would just insert exactly what it is that you'll do for them, believe it or not. So you just say will deliverable / benefit 1, 2, 3, whatever it is that you'll do. So like will, in my case, I might say something like we'll place you with a closer, we'll run your ads entirely done for you, and we'll work with your fulfillment team to make sure that your clients aren't churning at a rate of higher than 10% a month, as an example. And if we don't, and here's where you go into the one-time offer. And if we don't insert offer outcome within time frame, then I'll risk reversal. Now here, just like any other offer, you need to make sure that this offer speaks to the one deepest desired outcome of your market. That's the only way that this will work in obviously an acceptable time frame. Now, one of the things that I see a lot here, this is super common, typically with agencies, is they'll guarantee, as an example, leads, as opposed to the metric that comes after the lead. And here's the thing, nobody wants leads. People think they want leads, but what they actually deeply want is the thing, as I say, that comes after the lead, whether that's a patient, whether that's a client, whether that's a job, if you're in the contractor industry or whatever. It's always the thing that comes after leads. And it's the same with the coaching industry, right? All your market wants is just that ultimate desired outcome. So if you're in fitness, they don't really want a meal plan or a tailored, customized workout plan or whatever. They don't want that. What they want is to lose 20 kilos in the next 6 months or whatever it is, right? That's ultimately what they want. So when it comes to your offer, you just have to promise them whatever it is that they actually want. Don't try cop out here, because if you try and cop out on the offer, number one, this won't work. And number two, if you ever go to running paid ads, again, the same exact concepts that I'm talking about here apply to paid ads. And this is why most people, when they run paid ads, that also doesn't work for them either. It's simply because on paid ads, just like the people that are going to be reading this email, they just do not care about you. In fact, you're probably annoying them. them, right? Because they don't want to see your ad. They don't want to read what it is that you're saying. And then, yeah, as I say, in fact, they just want you to get off of their page. And so the only way you can really overcome that is by speaking to something that's so deeply desired by them. It's just like, damn, if this guy or girl is guaranteeing me this or is speaking to this outcome, I need to at least see what this is about, right? And again, that goes back to what I said before. You need to use an external offer which you associate with you, but you use an external offer which attracts them, and then all of a sudden you kind of bring them over to them wanting you and your agency. Hopefully that makes sense, or your coaching business. Okay, and a final thing on this little section here with the deliverables and the benefits here. These benefits, as I said before, should be the perfect solution to their biggest problems or issues. They should also be exactly what your market wants, not needs. This is another important point when it comes to the deliverables, right? I could sit here and say, as a agency or coach, you need yes, you need consistent client acquisition, but the biggest thing if you look at the biggest companies in our industry, they all have acquisition dialed, don't get me wrong, but the thing that they have even more dialed is their fulfillment, right? They have basically next to no churn. The client LTV is huge. Their referral rates are huge. They have more referrals coming in typically. I mean, the best businesses are the ones where they have more referrals coming in each month than they have churn clients. And that's really what makes a business scale to $1 million, $2 million, $3 million a month, right? By the way, that's in any industry, not just our industry. But this is my point. Although that's what most agencies and coaches need, it's not what they want. So if I wrote an ad that only spoke to that, those ads would bomb. They would not do nowhere near as well as if I wrote an ad like we have in our ads, which only speaks to client acquisition. Why? Because that's what the market wants. And yes, it is also what they need, but I would argue the thing they need even more is all this fulfillment help. That's why with our clients, for example, we obviously help them with client acquisition and we get that locked in, but we also spend so much time working with our clients on their fulfillment, because that's really what's going to take their company from, say, 100K a month to 800K a month, or 200K a month to $1 million a month, or whatever it may be, or even 20K a month to 100K a month. I would argue at that level, it definitely is more focused on acquisition, because you kind of don't have enough clients to know where you need to improve your product and what it is that you need to deliver. But anyway, my point is, if you want to scale, fulfillment's a big part of it. But if I wrote ads that only spoke to fulfillment, obviously it wouldn't work nowhere near as well, because the market just doesn't want it. They don't care for it. They just want more clients. So in the deliverables and benefits, you need to just speak to the thing that it is, the thing that your market wants. Enough rambling. So we'll deliver benefit 1, 2, 3, and if we don't, we'll offer. Not only is this what we've installed for, and then ideally here you want to insert famous clients. If you don't have famous clients on your track record, then you can swap them out for, not only is this what we've installed for XYZ amount of clients or active clients, X of which we've scaled past 8 figures in under 12 months. So again, the best outcome here is that you insert famous clients, right? Because remember, these people don't know who you are. So if a random person said, I'll offer you this, but if another person said, hey, I'll offer you this, and this is the same thing we've done for Nike, Adidas, Apple, and XYZ, naturally, even if you have no idea who both people are, the second offer is obviously significantly more valuable simply because of their track record. And you can again associate that person that you don't know to, damn, he's or she has worked with all of these brands, so he or she must know what they're doing. So they can associate the value of your track record to you specifically, right? But as I mentioned, if you don't have famous clients, that's fine. You can achieve that same outcome by just saying, hey, we've worked with total amount of clients, however many that is. We've worked with 150 plus clients, and on average, so you could either use an average where you say on average we've added an extra XYZ amount in revenue or new clients or whatever the outcome is that they do want. Or you could take a different approach where you go, if we've worked with 150 plus clients, and as I say here, 10 of them, for example, we've scaled past a big sexy number that your market would like, right? And here, typically you will say, not only is this what we've done here, but it's also the same system that we've installed or the same offer that we've installed for XYZ, who went from A to B within time frame, even though objection, right? Or even though common false belief. So if all of your market thinks ads don't work for my product because my product's too cheap, if that's like a commonly held misbelief or incorrect belief within your market, then you could say here, as an example, they went from 100K a month to 500K a month within 6 months, even though they charge $10 for their product, as an example. You get the point, right? So you kind of want to break those limiting beliefs, and you can kind of restate that for each one of your individual client results here. And typically here as well, you can't really state too many. I mean, I probably won't go past 10, but within reason, the more the better. And then we finish off the script by saying, and by the way, this does not require you to, again, you reinsert all the things that they either hate and or think they need to do that they don't want to do. This doesn't require you to do X, Y, and Z. So if this interests you, then please book a super short 15-minute call here. You would obviously link your calendar. Now, once the 5 available slots fill up, we'll be increasing the price by amount. So again, if you're interested, please book a short call here before I let my 5,000 plus network know about the offer, at which point we'll probably fill all those available spots within a few hours. So here, there's obviously a ton of different things that you're doing. Number one, forget everything else. You actually have a really valuable offer that a lot of people will want. So that's obviously a big benefit. You're removing all of the stuff that they hate, which is also a really powerful way to just increase action rates on your ads, emails in this case, or whatever it may be. You know, if it's like, hey, I'll get you this big sexy thing without doing all the stuff you hate, I mean, within reason, that's like, you know, the ultimate outcome, right? Imagine if you become a millionaire without all the hard work, or do all this without doing XYZ, right? Everyone would take you up on it. Now, obviously that would be true, but you get the point. As much as possible, like I say, whilst it's still true, like if they actually have to do something that they don't like, but then I just won't mention that in this script, right? You would just talk about the other thing that maybe they don't now need to do that they hate, right? So again, you actually have a really valuable offer, which is number one. And number two, you have a lot of scarcity because of the whole, I've got a 5,000 plus network who are going to be really interested in the offer, but I wanted to reach out to you first. And it's only for 5 people or 10 people or whatever the number is. There's also urgency built into the scarcity aspect here as well. By saying there's only 5 slots available, it's a scarce resource. You also have FOMO because of the 5,000 plus other people that are going to find out about it. You don't want to miss out, right? So you have that, which is great. Naturally, because of those two things put together, there's a lot of urgency, like, damn, I need to act now because there's only 5 spots left. And we also say, once they fill up, more urgency to like act now. And on top of all of that, you have a price increase. So you could now say, you know, in the subject line or whatever, you know, you can advertise this as a, hey, get in today for a 3K discount, because if once they fill up, it's going to be increased by 3K. So now, right now is the cheapest you'll ever be able to join. So there's a lot of benefits that you have with it. Now, this works 100% of the time when you have an audience of ideal clients. If you have literally zero, which oftentimes honestly isn't the case, quite frankly, like people say, oh, I don't have an audience. But when you think about all of your leads, all of the past sales calls, all of your Instagram followers, you think about your YouTube audience, if you post any type of YouTube videos, you think about any communities that you have access to, etc., etc., right? You go down the list. There's usually at least 10 or 20 people, right? And you got to remember, an audience of 10 or 20 sounds really small. And it is, quite frankly, but those are 10 or 20 individual people. And remember, you can do this for free. So if you post it to the 10 or 20 people, or send it to the 10 or 20 people that you do have access to, and no one responds, you've not lost anything. You're in the same exact position as if you did send it. However, if one person responds, or 2 people respond, or 3 people respond, all of a sudden, you just made a 5K or a 10K or a 15K sale or 20K sale, whatever your price point is, for free. Out of thin air, you just made a sale, right? And obviously, if you have any decent sized audience like we do, and like a lot of our clients do who come to us, I mean, you know, this is an easy 50 to 100K activity that you could do. And it's 50 or 100K today, tomorrow, the next day, right? It's like immediate cash. And then obviously when you add that on to, if you have an audience like we do here in our school group and whatnot, it's a really warm audience. I mean, it's such easy money that I would highly recommend you go grab it. So hopefully you found this video valuable. If you did, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.